While wrestling these days is now more exposed than my bald head when the sun is out, there's still plenty that happens behind the scenes to create the illusion of what the sport of kings is meant to be. Even though it's predetermined and kayfabe has long died, it's never as easy as just pointing at a wrestler and saying, yeah, you can win, and then walking away. There's an intricate process that must be followed if the business is gonna succeed. Even today though, you're not meant to know about this stuff. Not like you sit down to watch an episode of Raw and beforehand you get the crib notes. It's meant to be a secret, but the internet means really, it can never be a secret again. I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 behind the scenes secrets WWE don't want you to know. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10, X marks the spot. If you've ever seen a wrestling spot go wrong, this won't overly surprise you, but it's worth mentioning because really, it's incredibly important. Essentially, whenever a wrestler gets seriously hurt to the point we need to go off script, the referee will let those in the back know by crossing his arms to make an X after receiving confirmation. That confirmation usually comes from a squeeze of the hand from the injured individual to the ref, and we're going to talk about that later. If they don't want to do that, they can just scream in the referee's face depending how bad it is. Even though WWE is aware most fans know this, it seems to be more often than not off limits as a worked plot device. Doing the X when nobody is really hurt would be the wrestling equivalent of calling the police because your pizza is 5 minutes late, and as we know, you don't make that call till 20 minutes, and at 1 hour, you wreck the joint. Those are the rules of ordering a pizza. If after this proper medical personnel arrive on the scene too, it's probably time to stop booing and hope that everyone involved is okay. Number 9, Kane's pyro is a spoiler. These days, it's not difficult to tell when Kane is losing, except all that stuff with Finn Balor that we all enjoyed very much and didn't moan about at all. He's more of a guy to put other talent over in 2018, and that's fine. Kane rocks. I love Kane. There is actually one way to know for sure if he's going to be a victor or a loser though. The Big Red Machine's turnbuckle pyro only seems to have one explosion in it per night. If it goes off during his entrance, therefore, the likelihood is that he will lose, since he won't have the opportunity to do it again afterwards. Admittedly, there are a handful of exceptions to this rule over the years, but by and large it has proved true and has ruined many a Kane match for those who figured it out. Wouldn't this be great if it was the same for Bayley too? Match outcomes dependent on those inflatable buddy things, which are terrifying by the way. If you woke up and they're in your face, fear. Pure fear. Number 8, thigh slapping. Wrestlers love to slap their legs, and I'll be honest, I love it too. The idea, of course, is to make moves such as a super kick have far more impact. If you smack your thigh at the right time, it sounds like you just smashed someone's jaw in. Just think of Shawn Michaels. People love Sweet Jim music as it looks good, but also has the noise of a gun going off. It's really cool in one way because it's a super simple idea that adds to both the move and the sell. One problem it does pose, however, and still does today, is that any chin kick related botches end up looking even more ridiculous than usual, since you can hear this, but you don't actually see any contact. But that is the point, it's wrestling, not real. No one is actually kicking people in the jaw, and even if they did, I bet my ass it would still look better with a well-timed slap of the leg. Number 7, tells. One of wrestling's great mysteries is how a pair of opponents are somehow always able to know what the other is thinking. It's a real skill of being a wrestler, and knowing how to hide it well is not easy. Sometimes, as Botchamania has frequently shown us, the explanation is as simple as them telling each other verbally. John Cena has become famous for how many times he's been caught on camera calling a spot in the ring, and let me tell you, he doesn't give two shits about this. But there are other more subtle ways to go about it. If a wrestler is planning on wriggling out of a suplex or a backdrop, for instance, they might throw an arm up in the air. By this same thought process, if they want their opponent to reverse an Irish whip, they may squeeze their hand particularly tightly in the setup. While we know the vague details around this kind of thing thanks to amateur wrestlers spilling the beans online, it's still pretty difficult to spot for yourself while watching WWE, especially because not everyone will use the exact same tells, and that's cool, and where wrestling comes into its own. Number 6, blading. The cat has long since been out of the bag on this one, mostly due to a series of YouTube videos in which referees are shown placing a shiny metal thing into the palm of a wrestler as they writhe around on the mat shouting away. But it warrants a mention because there is a skill involved in pulling it off. Wrestlers who deliberately draw blood from their foreheads must be very precise with their incision so as to avoid a serious wound and possible scarring, and they often manage to do it while rolling around. I couldn't do it stood still in front of a mirror. Of course, this practice has become much more rare in WWE these days as health and safety became a thing, and everyone realised this probably wasn't the best idea. Also, Brock Lesnar's elbows came into the picture. Why use a razor blade when we can use human bone? Exactly. I think most of us can agree in 2018 that we don't need to do this anymore either. I don't get why fake blood is so looked down upon. It still looks like blood and there's no risk. And again, don't forget, the best thing about wrestling is that we can all protect each other. Number 5, whoever sets up the spot is taking it. Generally speaking, whoever sets up a table, be it in the corner of the ring or on the outside, is the one who is going to be launched through said table a couple of minutes later. It's not really clear what the logic behind this one is. It could be that the wrestler taking the fall needs to know exactly where they're supposed to land, especially if they're supposed to drop from inside the ring while facing inwards, meaning they can't see anything. Alternatively, it could just be an attempt at swerving the crowd. There's no way this guy's going to get smashed with the wood. He brought it into the ring and then, oh, how stupid you are. This doesn't just apply to table spots either. If you bring a bag of thumbtacks into the ring or start throwing gasoline around, you're probably going to end up screaming in agony. Think how many times that happened to Mick Foley over the years. And even when Edge lit that table on fire, he still went through it too. Maybe it's even a warning to people at home. If you try and overly hurt your opponent, you yourself will end up in a bad predicament. Number 4, you good? The referee is one of the most important parts of a wrestling match before we even kick things off. As well as helping the performers keep time, he also has a role to play in seeing that they don't get hurt. That's why whenever a wrestler does something stupid or nuts, like a springboard backflip halfway up the entrance ramp, the ref instantly rushes to their side to make sure they're not dead. Since saying "I'm good" in the middle of the match isn't exactly tough, like we talked about earlier, they often let it be known that they are okay by gently squeezing the ref's fingers after he's placed them in or near their hand. It's a smart system, yet no one has thought of the obvious. What happens if someone has broken both their hands? Then we're all screwed. Number 3, the hot tag. Tag team bouts are pretty much a copycat these days and really always have been. One member from Team Good Guy will get beaten up for ages before eventually tagging in their bigger and more popular partner to mount a comeback. We all cheer, it's wonderful. However, it is all down to the person on the outside of the ring with their arm outstretched as to when they should pull the trigger on this. They can't just shout, "Do it now!" as awesome as that would be, and they actually feed this info to their partner through the positioning of their hand. But simply, if it's palm side down, it's not yet time and you should slowly crawl to your corner like you've got a piano on your back, which would probably happen during a Vince Russo booked main event. If it's palm side up, however, that means the heels have done whatever they needed to do and now you can tag in to your heart's content. It's always very well hidden and a great device, all things considered. I didn't even know about it till recently, so the wrestling world deserves a lot of credit. Number 2, crowd noises. Probably one of WWE's most embarrassing secrets is that they've once or twice been caught, or so it seems, to be adding in crowd noises onto their shows in order to get the reaction they wanted, and not the one they actually got. In all fairness, it's not like this isn't commonplace in other television shows that are filmed in front of a live audience. Nobody finds 2.5 Men funny, for example. We all look and groan, but then you watch it, and what do you know? Everybody's cracking up. The problem is, in WWE, the product is supposed to be interactive. Fans are meant to be the ones who get the final say on who reaches the top of the wrestling ladder, so canned crowd noises don't really work. It's almost as if they've lost the ability to create larger-than-life stars like Stone Cold Steve Austin and have to resort to pretending they have one instead. Huh? Never mind. Number 1, left side is best side. Only the most eagle-eyed fans will have spotted this one by themselves, or just found out about it as the internet told us all we needed to know about wrestling. WWE wrestlers tend to work the left side of their and their opponent's body. That is, they go for the left arm, the left leg, and of course when they're applying a headlock, they go back to that left arm. The logic here is so that everybody involved knows the deal. You're less likely to smash your heads together if you know in which direction the other guy is going to go. And also, since most people are right-handed, they still have their good side free so they can escape a move more naturally. An interesting aside is that, while it is the same in Japan, performers in Mexico use the exact opposite approach, applying moves to the right side of their opponent's body. It's like going abroad and driving on the wrong side of the road. If nothing else, this should give you a newfound appreciation for those handful of wrestlers who have achieved success both north and south of the American border, likes of Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Jericho, who have all essentially learnt the ropes twice, and that makes them wonderful.
Gosh, can you believe that that person said that about that particular video on that entry? I sure can't. But you should like, share and subscribe below anyway. And also, the people who made this video, they're right here. Go follow them and give them some love. Also, there's more content, probably above my head. Check it out. Or don't. 50-50.